Hi, I'm Zealand Shannon. I'm 16 years old and I'm a professional PA announcer. And this video is going to be about how to properly PA announce a volleyball match. Now I'm breaking this into 3 sections. We're going to have the pre-game, the pre-game in the actual gymnasium, and the match. We'll get to that a little bit later. First, in the pre-game, you need to know the rules. This is about professionalism. NASPA, great website, NASPAA, has all the regulations of a professional PA announcer. Check out that website so I don't have to elaborate on it and take up time on this video. And the second part that you need to know is just the rules of volleyball. If you aren't already familiar with it, volleyball has a lot of in-depth rules and violations. If you have the opportunity, ask an assistant coach or a volleyball player to have the ability to sit down with them and go over elements of a volleyball match and the way they'd like it announced and the terminology that they would want so you don't sound uneducated. You always want to check the mic pretty much right when you get there, so that you look as professional as possible, and there's usually the least amount of people right when you get there. Also, when you get there early, make sure to get the rosters from both coaches and give it a cold read to confirm all the roster names. Just read them all out to the coach. Any name you pronounce wrong or incorrectly, write that name down phonetically, mark it up. However will best help you when it comes to pronouncing that name when it comes up in the game. When you're reading the reads that you've been given, you want to give them all a cold read just like you did with the rosters when you got to the gym. Read it through all of them once, and you want to mark them up, or at least you'll have it logged in your brain so that you can read the advertisements and the messages in an engaging fashion. What you don't want to sound like is sportsmanship is having pride in your school, your team, and yourself. Sportsmanship is having respect for the game and those who play it. You want to have markings on the paper reminding you to slow down, and you want to have pauses. If you have to put them in there, that's okay. I've seen people and announcers that have a marking on every single word in one of these huge scripts, because that's what helps them get them right. And what you should sound like is, sportsmanship is having pride in your school, your team, and yourself. Sportsmanship is having respect for the game and those who play it. It's a much more engaging fashion of reading the messages and advertisements. And the order that you're going to go in the actual pregame is you'll start by welcoming everyone afternoon, evening to the volleyball game. If both teams are in the same class or division and they're both varsity, or it's a district matchup or a conference matchup, you want to put all that in there. It spices up the intro. Then you start with the lineups for the away team, then the starters, then their coach, then the lineups for the home team, then the starters, then the coach, then the officials. Please stand as we honor America. Sometimes you're not involved with this at all, but I know sometimes at my high school I have to set up that I'll give a signal to someone, or I'll have to pass the mic off to someone who's singing the national anthem. So you just want to check with the home coach as to what the operation is, so that you don't end up with such a patriotic moment, and if you mess that up, it looks really bad and it can offend a lot of people. So you always want to make sure you get that right. And also always put your hand over your heart. Another very important thing, patriotic thing, that a lot of people just put their hands behind their back or something, and you want to put your hand over your heart. That is the politically correct thing to do. Then you get into the actual match. I always like to sit next to the official scorer. If you can't do that, ask the coach if you can sit next to a practice squad player and have them stand or sit next to you, because that's how I learned the game of volleyball. Was I was next to someone that really knew what they were talking about, whether it was a parent, the official scorer, volleyball player, etc. And when something would happen that I didn't know what it was called, you refer to them for the official term, and I'd ask them what is the most official way in terms of the terminology that you could say that. And they'll give me the quick answer, and I'll try and get it up on the PA system. But there's also this very narrow window in volleyball. There'll be a whistle at the end of a point, and then there'll be a whistle that'll allow the player to serve. Kind of the whistle before a kickoff in football, if that's what you're more familiar with. and you have the time to talk in between those two whistles. So with the last resort is you're talking and you get cut off by the whistle and you try and end it as quickly as possible. That is the only time after that whistle blows you cannot start talking. So if you're getting what a play was and the whistle blows, then it's okay. It's not as noticeable as you think if you don't announce for one play. They are watching it. What you are providing is the person's name and the official ruling on what just happened, but they are watching it and they won't be lost if you miss one announcement. Now when it comes to the normal announcing of the names, when you have a kill, you want to make it as concise as possible. Kill Rachel Matheson. There's no the, there's no from, it's kill Rachel Matheson. If you have more time, you can switch it up, spice it up, because you don't want to be just repeating the same thing, filling in different names. You could say Rachel Matheson with the kill. Something of that nature. If you have more time and you think it sounds better, then the kill from Rachel Matheson does work, but those are your options for switching it up. What you don't want to use are the adjectives. You don't want to say, what a sensational kill by Rachel Matheson, because then that is favoritism and you can end up with parents or athletic directors or principals saying that you're using more descriptive adjectives for one team or another, and it gets into this big finger-pointing match. And you can avoid all that. You just put emphasis behind what you're saying, but you're just describing the events. And if you want to inject the energy, it's just an emphasis. Every point in volleyball ends with a kill or an error or a tip. It ends with the ball hitting the floor, which means sometimes you lose the credit for the digs or the assists. So when someone has a sensational dig, obviously you wouldn't say sensational dig, but you'd give them credit, you'd give the libero credit, they're the defensive player in the opposite color jersey. If they get a great dig and then it's a pass and a kill, then the dig from Natalia Campos finished off by a kill from Rachel Matheson. You can throw all that in there. And you also want to give credit to the setter. If they do a cross-court assist, something that looks really impressive and it ends in a kill, the kill from Rachel Matheson, or kill Rachel Matheson on an assist from Brooke Royals. You throw all those extra things in there. Give people credit when it's due. Do that for both teams. And that leads me to my next and final point, in that when you're announcing for a home team and you're with that team for every home game, you are supposed to be entirely level. And the best way I can give you an example of this is the USF football PA announcer. He announces first downs at the same level. For the other team, he'll say, that's a first down for Connecticut. But then for USF, he'll say, that's another USF, and lets the crowd say first down. So when you're the home announcer, you're with that team for every home game. You're not at a neutral site. You're allowed a degree of variance. For example, in volleyball, that's usually you put a little more power behind when you're saying something for the home team than when you're saying something for the away team. You can have a signature call or two. Like I know mine for my high school is if there's a big kill in a big spot, I'll say that's a thunder spike from blah, 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 or Rachel Matheson, since she's been my example person. You can have one signature call, but you always want to keep it very close together, because your goal is to be level, and definitely you do not want to be a cheerleader. I come across that a lot in high school, where some people just won't even talk about the away team and they just go crazy for the home team. That is not who you want to be. So you want to put out a professional look, and you want to have not just the home athletic director, but both athletic directors and coaches appreciating how well you're announcing. Some volleyball terminology. If you're going on offense and you hit it hard and it drops, that is a kill. If you go up and tip it over, then it's a tip. The dig is when you jump around and bump it off the floor. An assist is a set. You can say great set or great assist. A serve that drops is an ace. A couple of violations: if an official goes like this, it is under the net. If they go like this, it is into the net violation. And if they go like this, I'm pretty sure that is the double touch symbol. This is a carry. You'll want to thank everyone for coming to the match. You'll want to have all the set scores written down on a piece of paper and in the right column so you can read off the final score. You know, Steinbrenner High School has won this Class 7A volleyball matchup, 25-19, 25-16, 25-13. Thank you for coming, and drive home safely. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, I'm available. Just drop it off in the comments section and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.